Alrighty, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on the mat again today for our Yoga for Beginners 2. You do not need to do these sequentially, however, it certainly helps to build that foundation. We have a wonderful practice ahead of us today. Again, the most important part of this as we get started standing in our mountain pose Tadasana is to remember to move with your breath. If I, for example, we're not doing this yet, but for example, if I say to breathe in, arms up, you don't have to lift your arms up and breathe in at that exact moment in time. It may be a few seconds before or after. However, when you do lift your arms up, that is when you breathe in and take that inhalation. And finding your own breath rhythm as well is important. Making this practice your own is most important. Flowing with the breath. Yoga is breath. Breath is yoga. Focusing on that. Not trying to control it too much. If you are familiar with Ujjayi breath, activating that. Otherwise, for our beginner series, absolutely no pressure, no rush. Just being here is enough for this practice. And you are going to do amazing. No props will be required. However, if you have a block, blanket, bolster, or book to use, I always recommend those as well. Otherwise, we're going to get started with our standing pelvic circles, feet a little wider than hip width apart. And get started rotating those circles in a clockwise direction, bringing them forward, bringing them backward, finding a rhythm to fall into. Not forcing anything, not overexerting here. We want to find smooth rhythmic movements as you switch the direction of the circle to counterclockwise. Just getting the body warmed up and primed for the practice ahead of us. It'll be a relatively quick one, but it's a very thorough practice as well. Mostly focusing on standing postures, balance, and hips, but we will get a little bit of core work as well. But bringing your feet together, knees together, starting to circle the knees, bringing hands to knees as you start in a clockwise direction. We are standing knee circles pose, Upavista Dvijanu Chakra. Standing knee circles pose. As you switch directions to counterclockwise. Flowing with your breath, enjoying the movements. Shouldn't be any pain or discomfort here. Just opening through the body, letting the blood flow. As you breathe in, coming up, arms up, look up. Exhaling, leaning to your left. Grabbing right wrist with left hand. And as you inhale, coming up through center, switching clasp of wrists, leaning to the right, grabbing left wrist with right hand. It's our upward salute side bend pose, Parsva Urdhva Hastasana. And I'm rotating just for the camera so you can see me, but breathing in, hands to lower back, breathing out any level of back bend that is accessible, listening to your body. You may just start to look backwards, and that is perfectly fine as well. Otherwise, breathing in, arms coming up, looking up, exhaling, folding forward and down. Any amount of bend in the knees that is comfortable for you. It's our standing forward fold pose, Uttanasana. You can clasp arms, arms can dangle, wherever they are most comfortable. You can even grab around the backs of your shins, maybe grabbing for your ankles. If you're feeling flexible, straightening the legs a little bit, but any amount of bend is absolutely okay. And as you breathe in, arms sliding up your thighs towards your knee, upper body and torso parallel to the ground on the inhale. Exhaling again, folding forward and down. Grabbing anywhere that feels comfortable, maybe letting the body dangle. Feel free to drape the torso over the thighs bending the knees any amount to accomplish that. Get 2 more cycles of breath here. Exhaling, planting the palms, moving into our plank pose, Phalakasana. A little bit of strength, working on that foundation. Feel free to drop the knees if you need to, but we won't be here long. You can do this. Maybe rocking forward and backwards, bringing some movement into the body. Static planks aren't very much fun after all. Otherwise, exhaling, knees down into our tabletop pose, shoulders over wrists, hips over knees, flowing through a little cat and cow, just a few rounds in our Brahmanasana tabletop pose. Inhaling, dropping the belly, lifting the gaze, opening through the heart. Exhaling, pressing through the palms, rounding the back, shoulder blades separate, looking towards the navel, and flowing back and forth in this tabletop pose for cat and cow. On your next breath, coming to a neutral spine, we're moving into our tabletop pose, variation leg raised, Brahmanasana variation leg raised. We'll go ahead and recenter on the mat. Left knee down, left toes down, lifting the right leg straight back behind you, working on the glutes, strong through the glutes, keeping hips and shoulders level and parallel to the ground and each other. Keeping the shoulders over wrists, strong through the core, strong through the back body. Building up a little bit of heat here, you're doing so well. Coming down, switching sides, right knee down, right foot flat on the ground as you lift that left leg up, maybe flexing through the foot, strong through the left glute. Again, one hip not rising more than the other, dropping that left hip down just a little bit if it's hiking up. And one more round of breath here before we move through our tabletop into our cat pose variation knee. So like our cat pose, as you push down into the mat, instead of staying static, you're going to lift one of your knees up, starting with the right. Breathing in, coming through cow pose, dropping the belly, lifting the gaze. Exhaling, pushing through the palms, rounding the back, knee to nose. Switching sides every time. Exhaling, rounding the back, right knee to nose. Inhaling, dropping the belly, lifting the gaze. Exhaling, left knee to nose, rounding the back. Continuing to flow back and forth. I know this is hard, but you're doing amazing. This is the last bit of strength required for this practice. So it's not long, but you got this. Continuing to flow, exhaling, rounding the back, bringing knee to nose. Inhaling, dropping it and switching. And on your next round, we'll drop the left knee and left foot to the ground, left palm on the ground as you bring your right leg straight back behind you so your body is in one line. Your foot will be parallel with the short side of the mat. Right sole of the foot on the ground. Right arm up in the air, stacking shoulders, looking towards the side of the room for our side plank pose variation, one knee on floor. And if you'd like to take it a little bit further, lifting that right leg up, a little bit of extra strength for you if you'd like, totally optional. Otherwise, switching sides, right hand to the ground, right knee on the ground, left foot straight back behind you, left foot on the ground and parallel with the short side of the mat. Left arm up above you, stacking shoulders, looking towards the side of the room. Vasisthasana variation Ika Janu Bhumi. Side plank pose variation with one knee on the floor. And feeling free to stay here or to intensify, lifting that left leg up, making it parallel to the ground, focusing on that core, strong through the abdominals. As you exhale, coming into child's pose. I'll be in a wide-legged child's pose with my knees separated. Feel free to keep them together if that's more comfortable, but still sinking the hips towards the heels, arms out in front of you, letting your heart and head melt towards the mat. Any tension or stress in the neck, jaw, or shoulders, letting that melt down. In our child's pose, Balasana. And one more round of breath here before lifting up just a little bit, crawling both hands over towards the right edge of the mat. Maybe stacking hands, maybe not. Breathing into that left side body, feeling that stretch all the way through your left back and rib cage. Breathing into that space and expanding that space. Staying here for just a few more rounds of breath. As you inhale, lifting up a little bit so you can switch sides, crawling both hands to the left side of the mat, coming off of the mat. And breathing through that right side body this time, still keeping your hips sinking towards your heels as you take this last round of breath. And coming into your tabletop pose, you'll keep hips over knees as you extend your hands towards the top of the mat for our puppy dog pose, melting your heart towards the mat, moving your forehead in the direction of the mat, and if you're feeling quite flexible today, maybe your chin on the mat, but absolutely no pressure to get there. I'm not doing that today either. Tops of the feet flat on the ground, straight line from wrists to hips. As you breathe out, coming down to Sphinx pose. You'll be coming down, having your elbows under shoulders, forearms parallel to each other, gaze up and lifted. No pain or discomfort in the lower back. If you do feel anything, spread the legs out a little bit wider towards the outside edge of the mat or beyond. Staying strong through the glutes, ensuring space for that lower back and lower abdomen to expand with each inhale. Maintaining smooth, steady breaths for our Sphinx pose, Salamba Bhujangasana. Staying here, sinking in. You've done the hard part. You're doing amazing. You've shown up on the mat today, and for that, you should give yourself credit. As you scooch yourself to the left side of the mat, bringing your right knee up at a 90-degree angle for our half frog pose, either staying on your Sphinx arms or resting head on hands, maybe forehead, maybe an ear. Left leg back behind you. Sinking into that right hip. There will be a little space between right hip and mat, and that's perfectly fine. But right leg at a 90-degree angle. Alright, moving to the other side of the mat, right leg straight back behind you, left leg coming up at a 90-degree angle, stretching out through that left hip, resting forehead or ear on hands. It's our last pose before our final resting pose, Shavasana. You've put in some work today, be proud of yourself, we're almost finished. And on your next breath out, coming to your back for corpse pose Shavasana, taking up space, legs falling out, feet falling out to the side, palms up, taking up as much space as you'd like. Letting your body acclimate to the practice and the space you've given it, sinking into the present moment. We're not here long, and I will call you back when it's time to finish. And starting to wiggle fingers and toes, coming back to the present moment, coming back to your body. Maybe stretching arms up above your head, pointing the toes for a nice deep stretch. Otherwise rolling over onto one side, lifting yourself up, coming back to the moment. Thanking yourself for the practice that you've done today. I know I appreciate you joining us. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Otherwise, I certainly hope to see you around for the next episode of our beginner series, continuing to build that foundation. Again, if you enjoyed, like, comment, and subscribe. Otherwise, have a blessed day, and until next time, namaste.